Hello. In this tutorial we're going to review a number of different spline concepts as well as introduce a way to create and place geometry using controllers. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make one of these posts for a kind of railing, an outdoor railing. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to start off with a rectangle. I'm just going to create the basic shape using splines. And I'm just going to kind of rough it in here. Dropping in these basic shapes to really define kind of that overall look. And I'm going through and I'm going to create multiple shapes. Just kind of going in, dropping in points. I'm trying to kind of keep the general shape sort of simple, not too complicated. And when I say shape, I mean the overall outline. I don't want to make something that's very curved and very high poly, but I do like the detail that exists inside this. Alright, this is what I'm going to start with. I'm going to come up to these guys. I'm going to convert this top one to an edit spline, and over in geometry start attaching him to his friends. And once I get all these guys attached, go ahead and attach this other line that I created. And then I can go into the spline subobject, select the top one, and just start using the Boolean tool to combine all of them together to get the top part of this post. And it's all working really good. Perfect. I'm going to grab the segments and I'm going to delete all of them but the bottom one, because this bottom one I'm going to grab that vert and move it over to the side. Grab these 2 points, crank up my weld threshold real high, and weld them together. And then from here, I'm just going to select all these points, right click, and I got to right click on one of them. And then over here in Tools, when I get the option to convert them all to corners. Alright, so that was a kind of an ugly point I made right there. We'll kind of come down here, clean up some of the rest, just kind of do a little bit of fine tuning on these general shapes. Just want to make sure I kind of got this basic shape kind of roughed out. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. So now I'm going to slap a lathe on it. And it looks like I need to just drag this over a little bit. Sorry, need to go into the axis, which I'm going to move over here. There we go. I've defined my post, so I'm going to name this post 00. I'm going to go to display, turn on back face cull. It looks like he is right side out. He's not inside out, which is perfect. So I'm just going to convert him to an edit poly. And then over here in hierarchy, I'm going to actually affect pivot only and center it to the object so that the pivot, affect pivot only, center to object. There we go. And I'm actually going to set that pivot so it sits down at 0, but now I've centered the pivot on this model. And if I wanted to take a look at this guy, alright, yeah, he's going to work really good for my post. Now, next I want to define, almost forgot, need to go into element, select the post, and say auto smooth. There we go. So now he'll look much better. There we go. That's good. So now I want to define the profile of a rail, and my reference is a couple different ones. I sort of like this one here. So I'm going to come in and just define the shape of this railing. I'm going to do most of that here with splines. Yeah, just going through, kind of defining what that shape looks like. There we go. I'm going to take this guy here and convert him to edit spline, and go through and attach the rest of these together. We'll go ahead and grab this guy here. He sits down here in X, he's sitting at this 79. I'm going to copy that value and go through and select each one and make sure that they're all centered at that same location in the world so that this spline shape is symmetrical on both sides. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to select the spline and go into Boolean and Boolean them all together. There we go. This edge I actually want to bring down a little bit. There we go, because I didn't want to lose that corner up there. We can turn on our Boolean again. There we go. And if I take this segment, lower it down, I just want to actually come up and find the divide, because I'm going to divide it here and grab this vertex point and then raise that up. I'm going to take all of them, as I have been in all my tutorials, and just turn them all into corners. There we go. I think even though this ref, it comes to a point, I want to round it out just a little bit more, so I'm going to put on, divide it one more time, so I can take these points and raise them up a little bit. I'm going to come up here to scale, change my pivot to the center, and kind of just adjust that a little bit. There we go. That's kind of more what I'm looking for. Okay, so I've defined a post, and I've defined kind of the shape I want for my overall kind of railing on it. So now I'm just going to come out here. I'm going to make myself a circle in the center of the world. I'm going to go ahead. When I did set up this reference, I did look at it, say that it was 2 feet 4 inches. Since I work in centimeters, I used, I figured out what that was in centimeters, and it's about 72 centimeters. And so I made a box here. I scaled my reference to match it. So I know that if I take this shape, which I'm going to go ahead and center this shape in the world, and then I can come out here and change. I'm going to make this thing 200. Right. So this is about, it's got a radius of 200 centimeters or 2 meters. I'm going to take this shape, and I'm just going to clone it up. So I'm going to say edit, clone as a copy. I'm going to raise him up to about the center of this. And then I'm just going to go ahead and use my standard sweep. I'll find the sweep modifier. I'm going to use a custom selection and pick. There we go. So now I have kind of my railing. Just sit right out there. If I wanted to get more geometry going down around here, I can go down to the circle and increase the interpolation if I want to round this out a little bit more, and I do. There we go. Now, in order to place all of the posts going all the way around here, first things first, I did forget that I want to actually put a little opening in here. So let's go to the circle, and we're just going to drop an edit spline on it. And I'm going to come in and grab these 2 segments at the bottom, and I'm going to divide them 2 times. And I just want to take this segment here and delete it. There we go. All right. You can see there's more detail in this part, right in this portion of the geometry. It's because there's more vertex points. So I can probably take out. No, I don't need to leave that. That's all right. If I want to go in and pull those out later for optimization purposes, I certainly can. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take this geometry here, and I'm going to clone it, edit, clone. Okay. Well, lower it down. I'm going to remove the sweep. Notice it's a copy. If I made it as an instance, if I removed the sweep, everything would disappear. Meaning, if it was an instance, any change I made to this shape would be propagated out to this one. So now I'm going to take my railing here, drop that down to 0. Here I have my post, and I'm going to come over here to modify now. And in modify, I'm going to use my controllers. Controllers are used to control, to manage the transforms, meaning position, rotation, and scale. So you could take your position, and if you click up on this little button here, it says Assign Controller, that allows you to select one of the different controller types. I'm going to select Path Constraint and say OK. Notice I can't move my model anymore. It's because it can only be moved by a path. And so if I click Add Path, I can click on the path that I just made. And notice now my shape is, or my post is now assigned to that path. I'm going to turn off Add Path. You can see it says Target. And then if I come down here and I scrub through time, you can see my objects moving along there. So what I want to do is I'm going to move to frame 1. I'm going to say Tools, Snapshot, and I want to make mesh copies over the full range of 0 to 100. I'm going to make 25 copies. And there we go. Look at how fast that was for us to get all of those in there now. I don't like where it starts. So I'm going to come in here, position 1. I'm going to change my percent along the path for frame 1 so that it sits back a little bit. And now let's do Tools, Snapshot. Okay. So it looks like if I kind of work on my timing a little bit, I can probably adjust it to get them a little bit more evenly, because I would like the post to end right about there. So let's try another one. Tools, Snapshot. Let's go ahead. We're going to change our time. Let's go ahead and get 15 posts. That looks pretty good. I may need to just, this guy here, post 0 that's on the path. Alright, I'm just going to hide him. All these new objects, right, they can be freely transformed. I mean, I could just hold shift and drag it over to the other side as an instance. Right. All these models are actually edit meshes. So we'll go back, we'll do this one more time. So let's go in here, I'm going to select all these posts and delete them. And if I unhide all, there's my primary post. I'm going to do Tools, Snapshot, and now I'm going to change it to say Clone Method Instance. There we go. So let's hide the original. This new guy, I can move. Now, the reason I can move these new ones and not the old ones is because when I went and I changed my position controller, I went through and I changed it for that one specific object. The default was still on position, rotation, and scale. So if that original, if I was to play, you could see him moving through time, right? Because he's still set as a path. Now, all the new ones have the default of position, rotation, and scale. So I can hold shift and drag this guy over to the opposite side as an instance. All of my nice little posts here are instances. That's a good way for me to get in there quickly and create the geometry that I want to have here for my little garden gazebo that I'm making. So now I want to get a base underneath it. I did set up some additional reference here. I'm going to use kind of the base of a Doric base. So I'm going to come in here and kind of trace that out. So I'll start with, make a very simple rectangle here, here, and here to kind of define that base. And then just throw in, I think I'm actually going to just trace out the rest of it with a line. Close it up, come over here, and then I'm just going to kind of trace it out for the secondary one. Very simply tracing out that shape, defining that overall structure. There we go. Close him off. And then I'm just going to use him and attach all these other ones as well. There we go. And I can just go in now and use my Boolean tool to combine all these different pieces together. I'm just going to get rid of these segments here. Okay, so there we go. I have my base. Let's go into vertex mode and make sure all these are corners. Oops, corner. There we go. And now, if I select, there's the one version of the spline. That's the one that goes halfway. I have more than one version of it here. I have one that is a complete circle, and then this one here is half. I'm just going to hide him. And now I can take this other one that is the complete circle, and for him I'm going to use Bevel Profile and pick my profile. It gives me a base. Now I am going to want to make some adjustments, so let's go into Profile Gizmo, and I'm going to do two things. One, I'm going to come here to the front, and then along the x-axis just move it out so it's a little bit bigger, so it's out a little bit wider. Alright, now I can go top level for that. And then I can grab all my other reference here, all my other modeling pieces, and just raise them up so that they're sitting kind of on that gazebo. There we go. So now this shape is pretty faceted. I'm going to come back down to the circle and increase the number of steps in the interpolation up to 12. There we go. That looks better. So that gives me a nice, if I select it all, say hide unselected, gives me a nice, good start for kind of building a nice little balcony or gazebo using spline tools, as well as using controllers in order to quickly place multiple pieces. Although, oh, this is my post 0. I need to hide him. Actually, I can delete him because I don't need him anymore. I have all these other ones that have been placed already. So there we go. So that's how you use controllers to place multiple objects, and also it kind of shows you how you can go through and use reference to quickly create nicely detailed models. So that's it for this tutorial.